We begin with breaking news at 5 o'clock. A suspect is dead, an officer hurt in a shooting today in Marion County. Thank you for joining us. I'm Laurel Porter.
And I'm David Mulco. This all started this morning at a truck stop with a standoff with a suspect police say was wanted. So let's go straight to Brian Clerkley in Aurora. Brian, a lot of moving parts here. Walk us through what we know.
Hey, David and Laurel. So there's still some crime scene tape around the truck stop, and we still don't have a lot of details on exactly what happened with this incident, including who fired at whom. But here's what we do know. Police said one officer was injured during the shooting, and the suspect in this case was killed. That officer was taken to the hospital, and we have not been told how seriously they were hurt. The incident started after 6 a.m. when police spotted a wanted suspect here at the truck stop. The suspect barricaded themselves inside a car. Then the SWAT team was called out to the scene. At some point later in the morning, things apparently escalated and shots were fired. Once again, we don't know who fired first or who exactly shot at whom. That's when the officer was injured and the suspect killed. People who are from this area say they've never heard anything like this happening before.
It's starting to get closer, and it's unnormal. I'm used to, I live out in the Salem area now, and I hear about this stuff all the time out there, but to hear that it's this close to where I grew up, it's scary.
The Marion County District's Attorney's Office and the Oregon State Police are now investigating the incident, and authorities say there's no outstanding danger to the community, and as of now, police are not, or authorities are not, releasing any information on the names of the suspect or the officer. Laurel, David.
Thank you, Brian.
You never think that it's going to happen to you. You think it's around you. And so that goes to show that, it can happen to anyone. Someone like my dad, Jose.
Another violent weekend in Portland and more families heartbroken. 2 people were killed in separate shootings. Tonight we're hearing from family of one of those victims. Mike Benner joins us from outside the Portland Police Bureau with their plea for answers and for peace. Mike?
Yeah, hi there, Laurel. The daughter of Jose and Roy Castaneda is urging people to come together and show love and empathy towards one another. She says if there was more of that, then just maybe her dad would still be around today. I want to show you some pictures of 52-year-old Jose. He's a beloved father of 4, a husband and friend, among other things. He was a good, fair, and kind man, according to his daughter, who says Jose was out for a walk early Saturday morning near Southeast 136th and Powell when he was shot and killed. Detectives are tight-lipped about the case, but family tells us Jose did not have any enemies. They do not know who would want to harm him or why. They're hoping somebody knows something and contacts police.
You wouldn't imagine this happening to him, of all people. He wasn't part of anything, and I mean, it just seems so random, and it just seems like bad luck. Like he was in just the wrong place at the wrong time.
Jose was one of 2 people shot and killed over the weekend. The second shooting was early Sunday morning near Southeast 9th and Ash. For the year, we've now had more than 450 shootings and 30 people killed in that gunfire. Those are stats the family of Jose and Roy Castaneda never thought they'd be a part of. They have launched a GoFundMe to help with the unexpected expenses associated with Jose's death, and you can find a link to that fundraiser on our website, kgw.com. David.
And Mike, I just want to highlight something you said, 30 homicides in the city of Portland alone to date, which puts us on track to exceed our record potentially of 90 from last year. A grim statistic there, Mike. Thank you very much for your reporting. Amidst that violence, the police union is formally calling for change on city council. It is now endorsing Renee Gonzalez, who is running against incumbent Commissioner Joanne Hardesty. Now, in a debate earlier this month, Gonzalez called for what he termed adequate funding for the Portland Police Bureau. And key context here, Commissioner Hardesty and the Portland Police haven't exactly had a great relationship. The union, that is. In December, she sued the union after she was falsely accused in a hit and run. The lawsuit alleges the former president of the police union leaked information that falsely identified Hardesty as a suspect.
Scary moments in southern Oregon. One person is hurt following a shooting outside Rogue Valley Mall. This was late Saturday night in Medford. Police believe a fight between rival groups of mostly juveniles escalated into a shooting. The victim is expected to survive. No arrests yet. A carnival was being held in the parking lot at the same time, just feet from the shooting. Police say it was a chaotic scene as adults and kids ran to get away.
From gun violence, let's turn to the other big issue Oregon and Portland continue to grapple with, and that is our homeless crisis. Let's bring in Galen Etlin now. He joins us from Laurelhurst Park. That is one spot where camps have been dismantled only to return again. Galen, any indications if the city has cleared the location? What's the update there?
There has been some movement, David. Crews cleared up about 3 to 4 tents on this corner here, which is now empty. But as you can see, there are quite a few more down the street here on Southeast Oak next to Laurelhurst Park. We've covered quite a few sweeps at Laurelhurst Park, and there are many logistics to consider. Here's what we know so far about this one. The city posted eviction notices on Friday, which said cleanup crews would be here in the next 10 days. We were here at noon today as the contracted company Rapid Response BioClean arrived. Crews told me they were getting ready to clear up the garbage and hazardous waste by the park. So they did pack up some bags of trash, but then left less than half an hour later, saying they needed police here to oversee the camp sweep. They were back just before 4 o'clock, clearing up some more debris as well. Now, some neighbors who have helped with cleanup before know people here need more support. And campers we spoke with today and last week say this eviction process happens often and doesn't really solve the bigger issue.
I've never been personally offered any assistance or help or any of these programs that they speak of.
I've been here 3 different times on clearing it. They just keep running us off and then we come right back.
I go in the morning and I see the needles. I see people who've been so strung out they couldn't even make it into a tent for the night. They've got to make something available where maybe it's a tent, maybe it's a small shelter, but someplace where they can be safe and get some services.
So for now, the camp along Laurelhurst Park is still here for the most part. We've heard from some neighbors who live near other parks in the area, and they've reached out with concerns that whenever Laurelhurst is cleared, camps pop up in other areas as well. So as you can imagine, it is really just a tough cycle. People camping out here tell us they understand this isn't what anyone in this neighborhood signed up for, and it isn't what they signed up for either. They say to get out of this situation, they really need help and support because they are people too. David, Laurel?
Indeed, they are all people, and no one wants to see this cycle go on and on. Thank you, Galen. When it comes to affordable housing, Marcia Fudge, the Housing and Urban Development Secretary, visited Milwaukee today. That is where she toured the Walsh Commons site. That's near downtown. It's a newly redeveloped affordable housing complex. Now, the secretary laid out the challenges when it comes to building affordable rent and buying a home right now, and also praised Oregon for its efforts.
Listen, everybody knows we have a crisis in housing in this country. We had a crisis before the pandemic. The crisis is worse today. I also want to say thank you for trying. You guys have passed some big bond issues, which I think are outstanding. You understand how to connect the dots between whether it be the low-income housing tax credits or CDBG or home, all of the things that are available to you. You guys connect the dots very, very well. We need more.
That is the bottom line. Fudge said the Biden administration is now looking for funding to support 1 million new housing units across the country.
The case of a former football coach in Washington fired for leading team prayers after games is now before the highest court in the country. This morning, the U.S. Supreme Court heard arguments 6 years after Bremerton coach Joseph Kennedy lost his job. As Drew Mickelson reports, a surprise group of opponents traveled to Washington, D.C. to support the school district's decision.
Thousands of miles from here, and more than 6 years after the praying occurred on this Bremerton High School field, U.S. Supreme Court justices are trying to decide if the coach should have been fired. But his opponents fear this could have a much larger impact.
Simply because it was a private prayer between God and myself, and I don't think anybody in America should have to worry about their faith and their job.
Joseph Kennedy has repeatedly said he was just exercising his freedom of speech when he led post-game prayers and got fired for it in 2015. His lawyers argued to the Supreme Court justices that the Constitution guarantees someone's right to practice their religion, saying the coach should not have been punished for heading up prayers that were not mandatory for his players. But 5 leaders from Bremerton area churches disagreed. They went to D.C. to be outside the Supreme Court during the arguments. They say the coach's actions could have forced or coerced players to pray against their will or their faiths.
Keep those two in their own lane. Faith and government, they've got to be separate. I'm with the school system. They did the right things. Let's support them.
A ruling from the U.S. Supreme Court is expected by the end of June.